Layers Part 3. Let's take a closer look at the Layer Properties dialog box. And what we see is we've got our columns here, and what I would like to do is be able to reposition these columns. We've already seen that we can click and drag the dividers to make the columns wider or make them smaller. Now that we understand what these symbols mean, we can also right-click and optimize all columns so that we can only see the part we need. We don't need to see the word on or freeze or lock. We can see that using the icons. We don't necessarily need to see the word freeze. We can tell if it's frozen or not simply by looking at the icon. Is it a sun or a snowflake? Another thing that we can do with these columns is move the column heading and reorganize the columns. In order to do that, I can click and drag the column heading. So what I'm going to do is take the word line type, click it. I'm going to drag it over here between plot and description. I'm going to drag color up to the very front of the list. And I can actually reduce the color down to only show me the little swatch. So I don't need to know the number or the name. I can just look at the swatch of color. More advanced uses of this. Let's take a look at what happens to our different objects. I'm going to turn on the Properties palette. Now, this is a new palette. To turn it on, I could type the word Properties. I could type just Prop. I can also use Control and the 1 key to turn this off or back on at any time. I'm going to leave mine turned on. Again, you can see I have docked it to the side of my screen, and I have also turned off the auto hide so that it doesn't flip closed and flip open. This doesn't obscure my drawing. My drawing area has actually just been reduced. In order to see this a little bit better, I'm going to click and slide this over a little bit so I have more drawing area exposed. I'm also going to do the same to my Layer Properties Manager. That just lets me see a little bit more of my drawing at a time. So, looking at the Properties window, we can see there are about 20 settings here that are currently visible to us. At the top, we see it says No Selection. It tells us what color our current lines would be if we started drawing. It tells us what layer those lines would be on. On down the list tells us all sorts of information. If we select an object, and I'm going to select the inner circle, and I can see that now I have one circle selected. Its color is by layer. The layer is AWOL, and on down the list. It even tells me the radius, the diameter, the circumference, the area, all sorts of information about where it's located on the screen, which is great for all sorts of uses. What I'm going to do is commit sort of a cardinal sin in AutoCAD, which is to change the color so that it is not by layer. I'm going to change the color to red. You can see that it has updated on the screen. It is now red. So it is on the AWOL layer, but it is a red circle. I'm going to hit Escape to let go of it. Now, the problem with this, the reason it's a bad move, is because now that object will not behave the way the rest of the objects on that layer behave. Let me show you what I mean. In order to illustrate, I'm going to change the color of AWOL, and I'm going to change the color to yellow. When I click OK, the outer circle now has changed to yellow. It now behaves correctly. It falls in line with the way the layer is defined. The inner circle is still on AWOL, but the color of it is no longer defined by the layer. And this is a problem because I am interested in controlling the way objects print by using the layer to define the line color and the line weight. So what I need to do for this object is to select it, come back over to the properties, and instead of letting it be red, letting it be by layer. Now as I change the color of the layer, all the objects on that layer will behave appropriately.